What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Social Media Mindset. And I am excited for a special episode today because my guest, we have been friends. Gosh, Mike, we probably met 9 years ago?
Yeah.
At church, and got to be friends while we both lived in Oklahoma. We moved back to Texas. And really have been, I guess, more like internet friends, since then, the power of the internet. But bro, this is why you're on this podcast, because first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited. You spent over 20 years in sales. You've sold over $350 million worth of parts in the, for commercial HVAC. And I mean, you have balled out for a really long time. You've really never been a social media guy because in your world, social media is not really required
for sure
to sell commercial HVAC.
Right.
And so the reason we're doing this podcast is because I woke up one day and Mike has always been the buddy of mine that I'm not really sure what's going on in his life. Sometimes I live vicariously through your wife because she'll post on social. And so I'll see the twins and I'll kind of know what y'all are doing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I'm on TikTok one day and I'm scrolling TikTok like I do. And there's your freaking face.
Yeah.
Talking on it.
Right.
About leadership
Yep.
and influence and sales. And I'm like, what is happening? This dude has never really done social media. And now I'm seeing you on TikTok,
right,
of all the places.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we got to do a podcast episode about
for sure.
What's going on, how you just leapt into the deep end of the swimming pool right out of the gate without anything.
Yeah.
And so, bro, kind of tell this part of the story and then we'll keep talking.
So ideally, I'm trying to build this brand on the consulting side of my business. And, people are like, man, you're not giving your stuff away the way you should be. You're a value player, but you're not giving it away the way I think you should. Yeah. And so all these CEOs and people I work with are like, bro, give it away. And so like, I have 16-year-old twin daughters, this. Yep. TikTok is everything. And so it's like, you need to be, let's just test drive this. And it was literally fear-based, like, all right, let's get it. And, nightmare status, and you look ridiculous when you start, you don't know how to edit crap, it's a nightmare. And, so my kids, 16-year-old girls are directing me on how to, ring light my way into a situation.
So what I want to unpack out of this beautiful brain of yours is the whole thought of, I was on a podcast this morning. I was a guest on another podcast, and man, I started talking about how, like, if I want to lose weight, all of that struggle gets to happen in private.
Sure.
If my wife and I are having a hard time in our marriage, all of that struggle happens in private. When you decide to get better online, all of that struggle happens in public.
Sure.
And so talk to me about, because I remember being scared to death of TikTok, and I was already really good at the other stuff.
Sure.
You've never been good at any of it.
No.
I've just jumped straight into TikTok.
Yeah, I've avoided all of that because, my business is a referral business, and so what I've done, whether it's e-commerce or any of the other stuff, is always my brand has always been built on referral behind the scenes. Like you and I had this conversation. Right. I'm like, when I saw you in Oklahoma City, I had no interest in being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And the funny part is now that's parlayed into, other podcasts and book deals and master classes and all this stuff, that you and I've talked about. And it's like, it's a little bit of a weird scenario because me, I'm head first. I don't dip the toe in the water. I'm like, let's just get it.
Right. And, you're cannonballing into the water.
I'm cannonballing. And the bottom line is like, I knew that it was going to suck, like you and I've talked about this, like I'm okay with it sucking. The perception is obviously what it is. And you open yourself up to this criticism that I think is a little new for me.
Yeah.
It's more of a, more people are referring me in on a praise base than they are of like, hey, hypercritical judgment.
So how like what you just said, I think most people are unable to say, and it's what's made you be successful, the way that you have.
Yeah.
How how are you okay with saying out loud, like I'm probably gonna suck at this,
Yeah.
but that's okay?
Sure.
Like how are you okay with saying that?
I'm self-aware enough of myself and my value that what I'm saying is not garbage. But
Yeah.
like if somebody I had a guy, somebody left a comment on my deal and was like, "You look like Harvey Weinstein." I laughed, and I was like, "Thanks, bro." I know it was funny to me because and I was telling my wife, this is just a new experience for me. I love business. The TikTok is a business. People
Yeah.
lose sight of the fact that, you're like when you're growing your brand, I don't worry about judgment and insecurity. I'm 45 years old.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
I worry about getting roasted by a 13-year-old boy who comes across my stuff on, on TikTok? No, not on For You. I'm good. It's okay.
So where does your, because this could come from a number of sources, right? But like where does your confidence come from to be able to do that? Because I think for a lot of people, they only care about what everybody else thinks about them.
Sure. I think a lot of it is experience. I think a lot of it is learning. It's the old adage, you're either winning or you're learning. I don't look at
Yeah.
it as a loss. And so for me, I think that, past experiences of being insecure or not feeling like I was adding the value that I was supposed to add or pushing myself the right way, I
Yeah.
think has now opened these doors up for me where it's like, I can't be the man that I am on one side and then pretend to be another guy on the other.
Yeah.
Like I only know one way to be, whether you love it or hate it. I'm good with it either way.
Yeah, man. I love that.
Yeah.
So take us back to the day is here. You have downloaded TikTok on your phone.
Yeah.
You've made the account.
Sure.
Talk us through, like, if we could have play by play, like this was a NFL football game.
Yeah.
What's the play by play of like what it was like recording your first video, figuring out how to edit, like how'd all that go down?
Trial by fire. Honestly, it was more along the lines of, you couldn't go anywhere for such a long amount of time without seeing teenagers dancing at the mall or,
Yeah.
dancing in my house or dancing in the driveway or at school or wherever we are. It's just the phenomenon that is TikTok,
Yeah.
and I think what's great about that is you're seeing so many more people utilize it professionally. And I think so for me, the fear was not necessarily the editing portion of it as much as it was kind of like putting out what I actually had to say. My first recording,
Yeah.
I think I re-recorded, I don't know, 25 times. Not because it sucked, but because like I knew what I was gonna say, but I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe, how did I look here? I didn't look right. And you become so like self-conscious, of
Yeah.
like, man, this is crazy. You look ridiculous. And I thought the funny part about it for me, the part that looked ridiculous was the part that I'm so self-aware that I'm great at talking about business.
Right.
So it was like,
Yeah.
the things I'm saying, and then people are like, man, that's incredible. That's great. And I'm like, well, thanks. What do you say?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, cool. Thanks for checking it out. It is what it is.
So what did that look like? Did you lay out 20 different videos that you wanted to do? Did you lay anything out at all? Like what did your kind of content preparation look like?
To be honest, it was kind of on the fly. And it was in the middle. Where it became popular for me was like when Kanye was going crazy and Elon Musk acquired Twitter and was holding them hostage. And so, it was like to verify you're going to have to pay $20 a month. And
Yeah.
celebrities were like, no way. And my response that got the most views and the most feedback was like, Elon has gone insane. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even supposed to be a hot button. I wasn't gaslighting
Sure.
views. It was kind of just like, this dude is crazy. Like, and then the part that got the most views was, the Kardashians didn't want to pay the $20 to be verified on Twitter. And I'm like, it's $20. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I couldn't wrap my hands around it. I'm like, I'm a business guy. And I'm like, you've got hundreds of millions of followers and it's like, you're worried about $20. And so
So
the content was born from that, if that makes sense, you know? So
yeah,
it's kind of like, yeah, I talk about leadership, talk about all these different things. And what it was kind of a precursor test drive to where I'm going now. So,
yeah. And so you did, so people listening understand, like, you know, there's a lot of value in taking what's going on in culture and leveraging that. You know, most people are just going to use that and pimp it out for their own benefit,
yeah, sure.
right? They're going to gaslight, they're going to try to ruffle feathers.
Right.
But you were just simply taking things that were being talked about,
Yeah.
right? And really giving an opinion to it, more so than trying to drag somebody through the mud,
Right.
right? Or anything like that. And that's a powerful way to leverage our content.
Sure.
But all of that was really kind of the appetizer to what 2023 is really going to look like for you.
Right.
And so unpack, like, what's the ultimate goal of why you've been putting yourself through the torment, which
Right.
is TikTok.
So the idea would be, you know, so many people have asked me to do these podcasts. You and I've talked about this for years, of people going, hey, come on the show, talk about what you do.
Yeah.
I was kind of max capacity for so long, of not wanting to, you know, overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah.
Not only to my existing customers, but to anything that I could take on in the future. So what I decided to do was, you know, start this podcast starting the first of the year, The Journey of Business, which basically I'm going to interview athletes and CEOs and entrepreneurs and so on and so forth, and just talk about their journey, talk about winning, talk about losing, really, you know, focus on kind of the return on investment of failure. This is what you and I talked about, you know,
Heck
like
yeah.
that's the one thing every entrepreneur has in common. And I'm fascinated by that. And so that's kind of led to that, to book deals, to all the things that you and I've talked about and kind of prayed about and dreamed about,
Heck
and
yeah,
you
man.
know, wildly uncomfortable things for me. Just so we're clear, you know, it's all new.
Yeah.
And so wildly excited, partially nervous.
What do you hope the the biggest outcome of the podcast will be?
Value, period. You know, I think it was more born out of when I started my business at 23 years old. I wish that we would have had the technology at our fingertips to be able to hear from the best of the best,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of avoid the pitfalls that these people were walking in the seasons that they walked in. Whether you're owning a business, buying a new business, starting a new business, whatever it is, or people who work for other people that just need to learn value on the season that they're in.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
huge, man.
I'm pumped, bro. I mean, like
I
it's going to
can't
be
wait.
really incredible. I think the value add is going to be everything. So that's my goal, is really just provide as much value as possible.
And then, you know, talk to us about, like, I know you're doing a lot of consulting right now. Most of that is being done like in and around Oklahoma City, where
Correct.
you live.
Yeah.
Will there be, like, as the podcast rolls out, will there be a digital component to the consulting moving forward? Will you be able to work with clients outside of Oklahoma?
Sure. And so like I've consulted, you know, kind of nationwide for a long time, but I think, you know, it's been through manufacturers and they're based in other, you know, cities and
Yeah.
states, which has
Yeah.
been incredible. Where it's kind of, you know, COVID kind of created this, you know, closed down mentality of having to zoom into conversations. Hence us
Yeah.
sitting here on Zoom. You know, and I think what that created is the opportunity for me to do, you know, consulting outside of Oklahoma City. Like you said, I mean, I work with everything from RV parks to security companies to, you know, to big, you know, big companies that just call me and ask me, you know, whatever it is they're looking to do. So yes, I'm
So,
excited, bro.
dude, I can't wait to see it and be a part of it. And I want to ask you, you know, because you've done so much and you know, you've been at the pinnacle of success in your industry. What is, looking back, what is the one piece of advice that you didn't take that you wish you would have?
I wish I would have chased value earlier as opposed to chasing numbers, you know, because when I was 23, I was trying to keep up with everyone. You know, I was
Yeah.
trying to prove my
Yeah.
worth. And what I realized that I guess when you say that, for me, I wish I would have recognized sooner that the money will follow the value. as opposed to
Yeah.
you chasing numbers, because, you know, that's when you work on commission or work on whatever it is you're doing, it's numbers. That's what it is. And I mean, for the longest time, that was my goal. You know, you
Yeah.
hit numbers. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And for me, when it started to turn into 2 million and then 4 million and then 10 million a year, and then, you know, I'm building e-commerce that's doing a 500,000 a month. And I mean, bro, the overwhelming sensation that I was getting and the advice I was getting from people wasn't healthy advice.
Yeah.
It was advice that I wish, you know,
Yeah.
I would have now as a 45-year-old man. I would give totally different advice to the guy that was
Yeah.
23. So
Good.
yeah, I wish it would have been more to chase value, because people were wanting me to chase numbers.
My parents' mentor, he used to always say that you can sell without serving, but you can't serve without selling.
Uh-huh. Correct. I love it.
And that's, you know, like that's what I've built everything I'm doing on.
For sure.
Is I just know if I lead with service,
Yeah.
the selling will follow.
And it's kind of the go-giver mentality is really
Yeah.
what it is, you know, and I think that's it. Mindset is so important, you know, having a great mindset, being able to reverse engineer situations that you step into. And you know, and I think the other thing is not every customer is ideal for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard when you want as much business as you can take,
Heck yeah.
you know, and it's like we're just not a good fit. And being able to walk away from that is so healthy and crazy at the same time, you know, because I mean, I've had some big opportunities that I walked away from that would have been great, but unfortunately, that's what it was.
Well, I love to challenge, you know, like the realtors and lenders that I'm usually working with.
Yeah.
By telling them, like, if you say you love people and like you're in your business to serve,
Yeah.
but you've never told anybody no,
Right.
your interests aren't in serving people.
Right. Yeah. They're
Like
self-interest.
I've turned more people away from my company than I've signed people up.
Sure.
Right. Cause I just know deep down my heart, like, you're not ready for this.
Right.
This is going to be, you know, you're going to waste a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, bro, that's revenue.
Yeah.
And it's the best kind. It's the recurring kind.
Right.
But just deep down in my heart of hearts, I cannot allow myself to say yes to someone that I know isn't the right fit for them.
Well, and you also have to set the expectation. That's a good thing for you to do professionally. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's a thing where if people they work with go, hey, you know, Kyle said they're not ready, you know, or we're not ready. Do you think? And then their friends, you know, a lot of people's friends will boost them to think they're ready. You know, I mean, they're not surrounded by the right people professionally.
Yeah.
It's all your personal cheerleaders that they go, man, you're killing it. And they have no concept of killing it. So I think that's the most important part. When you say, you know, I turn down more business, I walk away from business that I know is just going to give me anxiety and more work than I want to deal with.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough money to be completely overwhelmed.
No, there's not.
It's not.
So
a good look.
What, Mike, what would you say? What advice would you give, you know, now that you've jumped headfirst into video?
Yeah.
You've got a podcast rolling in the new year. It might already be out by the time this episode airs, you know, I'm not sure.
Right.
What advice would you give to the person that's still kind of sitting on the fence?
Yeah.
And they're lacking confidence, they're lacking clarity in their content. Like what would you say to them?
You got to take the first step. You know, falling off the fence is easier than not getting off the fence. You know, I mean, I believe that in the standpoint of, you know, you're going to get left behind personally and professionally if you are not putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And so I think your first step, if you're on the fence, is to download it, test drive it. You know what the best part about TikTok is? Start recording stuff and then put them, you know, you don't have to publish them.
Yeah.
You know, at least watch your videos, see how you can be better, practice, test drive things. You know, and I think YouTube is the same way. You can do these things and not publish them. And so I think that my first step would be practice, test drive it, talk to yourself in the mirror, do the things that make you feel comfortable. Because that's just, you know, I mean, you're never going to be fully comfortable talking into a cell phone in front of other people.
Right.
You know, and that, you know, it's just the weirdest concept of thought that no one, like, we would have never thought about this 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And so
we weren't thinking about this 9 years ago when we met.
Correct. Yeah,
you know?
and I mean, to know that we are doing this show is an incredible answer to prayer of, we were both on different. I was flying by the seat of my pants when I first met you, going 100 miles an hour professionally, and you were trying to find footing, and I love it. I mean, I think it's a tremendous answer to prayer and hard work and dedication. So I'm pumped, bro. Like I'm super excited for you.
So, well, I'm more excited for this for you
I
because you
appreciate you.
you have way more value to add to people than I do. So
Stop,
I'm
stop,
excited for
stop it.
people
Stop it.
to come follow you.
Yeah,
Um,
man, for sure.
man. So my last question,
Yeah.
you're coaching and mentoring and counseling a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of them big, like large companies, right? Doing multiple millions of dollars a years in sales.
Yeah.
What is the most common struggle you're seeing with them that we could learn from, on the show today?
I think a handful of things. I think trust is a big thing. I think that there's kind of like this delegation trust issue from upper management on some of the smaller companies. People want to handle it all themselves. This
Yeah.
is something I battled myself. I'm fully self aware that when I first started, I didn't hire smarter people than me in areas where I was weak.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that's
It's good.
commonplace. But I mean, for me, I mean, I'll be honest, I would have put $1 billion on the book had I hired the right people around me
Yeah.
instead of trying to do 350 on my own.
Yeah. So
So
good.
so when I look at that, I think it's, trusting people, being able to delegate things that you're not the best at,
Yeah.
being self-aware enough to know that you're not good at everything.
Mm,
So pick and choose your battles of what you think that you can help win.
yeah.
And then, I think it's to surround yourself with the right people. I think and that's personally and professionally. And I know this is more professional, but personally, you have to be surrounded by good people so that you can operate, at the best peak performance
Yeah.
professionally. So I think what I find more than anything is really trust issues, because just people don't trust people. And
Yeah.
it's such an interesting dynamic, because I think it's a foolish mindset
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but I also believe I mean, I get it. I was there. I was that person
It,
for a very long time.
it that like trust is such an interesting thing for me because I'm so the opposite of everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I would like, now Lana wouldn't let this happen, but like I'd let a stranger keep my kid, like
Right.
I choose to trust people completely
Right.
until you give me reason to not.
Sure.
Right. Whereas most people would go, I don't trust you at all. And you're going to prove it.
Right.
And then you're going to earn it. And then over time. And I wonder, so at least this is how it is for me, because I know that I'm honest and therefore I'm trustworthy.
Yeah.
I just assume there's more people like me.
Right.
And I think the problem for a lot of people is if you know deep down in your hearts that like you're kind of a scumbag, you're kind of only in this for you.
Right.
You would take advantage of somebody.
Sure.
Then of course you're not going to trust everybody else because you're going to assume that they would also do the same thing.
Well, and I think that, when you're dealing with large manufacturers or large companies, the turnover is what it is. And I think, what you find is, bad experiences lead to bad experiences. And, bad experiences will tend to put you into an HR situation where you're like, do not hire this kind of person or that kind of person. And that's the hard part for me, because like, I love people. I'm a people player. I'm a people person. I want people to win.
Yeah.
I don't care if we can be battling for the same amount of business. I want you to win. If it's not meant to be for me, listen, I'm
Right.
doing fine. I'm good. But I will tell you, man, like you got to love people first. And I think that that's the hard part for 99% people don't love people first. And that's the hard part,
100%.
so I will really try and encourage people to be open to what we recommend, so if I go in and say, hey, you got holes in your boat here, you need to chase this. And so yeah, man, it's that's kind of my prayer for business is when I walk into it, when I have to evaluate things.
So good. How will they find you in all this new endeavors? Where are you at online?
So the real Mike Wolf is where I'm at on Instagram, and so on and so forth. The Journey of Business podcast you can find on all the social, on the channels. in relation to the podcast. And so super excited about that. Maybe I can even get you to come on the show at some point.
Well, as long as I fit into that athlete category,
that's fair. I'll let you.
So we can talk about.
I can put athlete on your bio.
Athlete that I am.
If you want me to put athlete on your bio, I'm all in for that.
I mean, I don't know if you remember Hoop It Up tournaments.
That's fair.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That used to travel the country.
Right.
I won a couple of them.
Okay.
So if it wasn't for the shoulder injury, I'd probably be in the NFL and, in the Hall of Fame by now, probably.
Powerful. Yes. I love it. Speak that into existence. It's not too late.
None of that is true for anyone listening to the podcast. Bro, I appreciate you. I love you so much.
Love you, brother, man. Thanks for so
coming
much for
on and adding all this value.
You. For sure, man. I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back real soon with another cool story from an even cooler person. See ya.